Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Mr. Mercedes, the first book in the Bill Hodges trilogy by Stephen King. So, as usual, we're going to talk non-spoilery thoughts and opinions up front and then move over to the spoiler section where we can talk in more detail. So, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and let's begin. So, Mr. Mercedes is a really cool change of pace for Stephen King. This is like his first straight up detective novel. It's not an outright horror story or anything like that, even though some of the events that take place in the story are very horrifying. The overall premise of the story is that a retired police officer named Bill Hodges, who is suffering from the type of depression that some former policemen, policewomen suffer from after they retire, they kind of feel unused and useless now, and like he kind of feels that kind of depression where he almost thinks of taking his own life, and he's just really not doing well. And a situation happens where it basically gives him an excuse to jump into some more detective work, and that basically like spurs him back into action a little bit. So the mystery that Bill Hodges finds himself embroiled in is one of mass murder. One day at a job fair, there was a bunch of people in line, including a woman with her child, her very young child. Like, a lot of these people were just down on their luck trying to get a job and just doing what they can to survive. And this psychopath named Brady Hartsfield in a Mercedes decides to plow through the entire crowd of people, killing 8 and maiming several, and killing the mom and her young child as well. And no one knew who it was. Everyone just knows that it was someone in a Mercedes, and he becomes known as the Mercedes Killer. And almost as an excuse to get more involved with the police again, Bill Hodges starts to look into it, and it's kind of like his last case sort of situation. So, because the book is a detective story, a lot of the information that comes out in the form of a reveal or kind of like a twist in a lot of ways. So, I'm going to keep it light on the description of the story itself. But I can say that the characters are really interesting. I mean, this is Stephen King, so it kind of goes without saying that the characters are rich and deep and like really good characters that are very easy to follow. Like, the story itself is almost I don't want to call it generic, but it's a very straightforward detective story. So the real hook of the story is these characters, and the way Stephen King writes his characters, you can just live with them for like indefinitely, really. It's like a TV show that you never want to end. The character of Bill Hodges is so relatable in a lot of ways, even though he's so completely different from me, and I'm sure different from a lot of people, but he's still, just the way he's written is so completely relatable. You understand his pain, you understand his desperation to want to help and to want to feel needed and necessary and stuff, and his confusion about the different stuff going around him, because he's of the age where computer technology and stuff like that is kind of a mystery to him. So he has his young friend help him with it a lot and stuff. So just even that kind of stuff is just very mysterious to him, and he doesn't quite understand it. So you can really sympathize with him, and a lot of the other characters that we meet in the story as well. Like, a lot of the characters in the story are older, and a lot of them deal with kind of the issue of almost being set aside. And Stephen King writes that very well. I think it's probably from personal feelings of probably, being of a higher age and feeling somewhat set aside because, for the youth and that kind of thing. So I really feel that kind of connection with the characters and the way King wrote them. Like, it really, like, I've said it a million times already, but like, it really makes me empathize and sympathize with them, and it makes them very interesting to read. And we get some perspective from the killer. So the information we get about him is very interesting. And then, like, King gives backstory and stuff, but he doesn't try to explain away the actions by saying, like, oh, this happened back then, so that's because, like, he doesn't try to do anything like that. It's just further deepening this character so that we feel like we really know who they are, so we can almost try to predict what they're going to do and help try to solve the mystery as Bill and his allies are trying to do the same thing. So it's really, really well written in that way. And the writing structure is very much like what I consider non-creepy King. Like, it's straightforward, along with all the in-depth character development and just the very in-depth detail about the world and the way he explains things and describe things. It's like a lot of that's there, but it's I don't want to use the word meandering, but it's a lot less meandering than he typically does in a lot of his other stuff. It's very straightforward, it's very to the point, and it's almost cut and dry. But that lends it to the way the mystery of it works and the way the detective nature of the story works. So I think it's done very, very well. So before we jump into spoilers, I just want to say I definitely recommend this. This is a great start to a trilogy. It's very interesting, and as usual, we got really good characterization from Stephen King. The writing pace is really good. It's not slow. It's not like meandering. It's a great pace for a detective story. The prose and everything is really good. Just the language he uses is great for the characters in the world that they're in. Not necessarily great for real life, but King writes his contained stories in a really great way, and this is another great example of it. So I definitely recommend it. So let's jump over to spoiler section so I can talk a little bit more about the ending. So spoilers for Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. What I really want to talk about in the spoilers is basically the way it ends. The way we kind of learn more about Brady Hartsfield and how he's like really good with technology and how he can like re-engineer remotes to unlock car doors and like all these different things that he was able to create, like Thing 1 and Thing 2 and stuff. I always thought that stuff was really interesting, and it made him like a different kind of threat. I still feel like if Bill had told the police and actually worked with the police and like told him about Debbie's Blue Umbrella and all that kind of stuff, it would have been taken care of really easily. But it was more an emotional issue for Bill, feeling like he needed to be useful. Like he was feeling too much like he wasn't useful anymore. So it became such a thing for him to make sure that he could do this and like figure it out and all that kind of stuff. And it basically, without him saying it explicitly, like this was the thing that he felt was going to more or less cure his depression. So he actively didn't go to the police and kept, holding everything close to the vest and just wanted to deal with it in kind of a small way. So it kind of leads to all this vulnerability that he has going up against Brady, because Brady was trying specifically to play on his depression and his emotions and stuff and trying to push him to the point of suicide and stuff. So this whole like cat and mouse kind of, very direct enemies kind of playing against each other, a dynamic that King created, I thought was really, really interesting. And the whole thing with Brady, it just seems like after he killed his mother, he just went off the deep end. He went from kind of calculated killer, almost like the guy from Seven, to just full on cuckoo banana pants, and just was like he just wants to do like something big, just something loud, like it, just the kill of it and all that stuff. So his plan for the bomb that he was going to use at the concert with the girls and stuff, and like to get revenge and do all that stuff, I thought it was so heinous and so insane. And just the way everything kind of played out towards the end with Bill having a heart attack and stuff, I'm like, oh my God, are you really going to do this? Because King is one of the type of writers that would have a situation like all build up like this, and then like the good guys just don't win, and it just goes bad like all throughout and stuff, especially when it's the beginning of something. So I was there for a minute like, oh no, is this just not going to work out? And then we get Holly with her happy slapper like smacking the crap out of him with her bag with the ball bearings in it or whatever. Like I thought that was just brilliant. Then like how it just, he's not dead so he can come back later, and they leave him in the hospital and stuff. I thought that was really well done, because someone who is that interesting from a mental standpoint, who is an engineer and stuff like that, who is like a legit threat, who is a scary person, is kind of a really good kind of setup main bad guy antagonist for this new detective agency that they're creating now. So I really like the idea of it. I like it going forward. So I definitely think this might be one of my favorite non-scary Stephen King stories. Like he doesn't do a whole lot of stuff that's not, in the realm of, well, I mean, I guess technically this is a thriller, so you can kind of lump it in there with this other stuff if you want to. But this is one of my favorites of his non-straight up horror stuff. So I definitely recommend it. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the review here. Have you read Mr. Mercedes, or have you seen the TV show? Let me know about that in the comments down below. And if you want to leave spoilers, comments down there, please do leave a spoiler tag in case someone hasn't read the book and don't want to be spoiled. Please be respectful of that. So yeah, with that being said, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I will talk to you all next time. Peace.